for marketers and also brands who are looking at ways to win the hearts and minds of the millennials. This campaign is able to provide you an insight or two on how to go about it. So let's have a look at the case study video that we have for you.
Hi guys, nama saya Bunga. No, bukan nickname. Like, seriously, itu legit nama saya.
Bunga, esok keluarga saya nak.
Sebenarnya, Sam dengan Adam ni dua-dua baik. Sebab tu, saya kena cari jalan untuk tahu yang mana satu paling legit.
Adam baik, sincere. Sam pula handsome.
Tak pilih pun, kena tahu siapa yang naturally legit. Jangan main pilih je Bunga.
Macam mana kau kenal Bunga
Kau? Macam mana kau kenal Bunga?
Tak apa, awak pun dah lama kenal dia.
Kenapa awak rasa saya perlu ingat kat awak?
Bagi saya peluang kedua. Please Bunga.
Awak dah pilih ke?
I already have my answer.
Kedai bunga macam you ni ada jual produk rambut macam ni? I mean, your place is so green and it's so one with nature. Tiba-tiba ada shampoo.
Sebab herbal essences ni one with nature lah dia ada dekat kedai I. Sebenarnya I ada pengalaman buruk tau dengan produk yang claim natural. Rambut I jadi rosak, rapuh. Oh, stres gila. Tapi lepas I guna herbal essences, rambut I lebih sihat dan berkilat.
Wow.
Ya, I guna yang ni.
Seriously?
Serius. Sejak hari tu, I janji dengan diri I sendiri. Apa benda yang I buat, kena naturally legit.
Naturally legit?
Naturally legit.
Naturally legit. I like the sound of that. I'll give this a try.
Thank you.
Biarkan aku terus lena.
Langsung tak legit. Naturally legit. Naturally legit.
Naturally legit.
Jangan memujamu. Oh bunga janganlah begitu. Hari terus berlalu. Aku tunggu jawapanmu. Mungkinkah kau sebahagianku? Rasa itu selalu membunuhku. Aku tunggu di tempat pertama bertemu. Tanpa ada rasa jemu. Oh bunga.
Joining us all the way from Singapore, let's welcome Jessica Ruth Biscocho, Brand Director, Hair Care Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, for Procter & Gamble to share the secret of winning hearts and minds of millennials. And through a branded series called Bunga Secret Garden. I'm so sorry, Jessica is actually the Brand Director, Hair Care Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Procter & Gamble. So I was just like smiling watching the video just now. I seriously gave me that kind of goosebump because we put so much of emotions into it. And again, congratulations on your winning of the campaign. So how was the experience of being on the stage of APPIE for the first time, Jessica?
Thank you so much, Shan. Very, very glad to be here today. And it was a great and memorable experience, I would say. It was also my first time to be in APPIE and having that case study presentation. And I think it was truly a privilege first and foremost for the campaign to be chosen and to be able to present on the stage, and also to be able to represent the hard work of the entire team behind the Naturally Legit campaign. So in one word, it was a privilege and a great experience for me being there.
All right, let's talk about the campaign itself. Natural space is a competitive space to be in, but Herbal Essences has something that no other brands have, which is a certification from Royal Botanic Gardens too, to validate its natural purity. But we know it's not enough to convince the consumer. So my question would be, what else needed to be done to assure consumers to see Herbal Essences as the ultimate natural product choice?
Absolutely, Sha, and you're right? The Q partnership and that credentialing is not the only solution, and it's not the only thing that was needed to convince our consumers to choose Herbal Essences over the other naturals products in the market. I mean, it would be a brand builder's dream if it were that simple. But the truth is, it takes a holistic approach to win the hearts and minds of our consumers. Key partnership in this credentialing, of course, was important and allowed Herbal Essences to establish its product superiority, but that alone is not enough. Superiority of our product is highly important and should be the first thing that we aspire to provide for our consumers, but this always needs to be coupled with relevant and powerful communication, be it in TV commercials or in this case, the local campaign that we have done behind the story of Bunga on the Naturally Legit idea, as well as making sure that we have that disruptive presence in stores, completing her consumer journey, be it providing the consistency of the idea and the designs at the point of shelves and displays that she sees, or providing her with a value for money as she makes the purchase. So it's always going to be a 360 holistic wheel for us to really crack the results and crack what it takes to win with our consumers.
All right. And I think it's just not about the space that you're in. It's also the target audience that you have right now, which is the millennials. And we know already millennials, they're tough, they're picky, they're demanding, especially when it comes to a selection of branded content, in which it has to be highly relevant to their interests. So it's not as easy as that. I think we took quite a long time to somehow identify the right kind of consumer insights to build that big idea of Bunga's Secret Garden. So how did this campaign address that challenge?
So I think I'll first go back to what you were alluding to, the consumer insight that, millennials today are very much aware that natural products are good for their hair. But with so many brands communicating they are natural, they often get confused and overwhelmed by the research that they will need to do to find out what's truly natural. And it is the reality of the times, right? Millennials today are bombarded with so many other communications out there, be it on digital, on over TV and radio, and it could be overwhelming to decide which is the right product for me. And we learned also that to reach the hearts and minds of our millennials, we needed to do it a bit more differently versus the traditional way of marketing. So it really first started with articulating the campaign in a trendy and I would say relevant millennial lingo, right? Naturally Legit coins the idea of Herbal Essences being the real deal in a very straightforward and relevant way that is easy for everyone to understand. Second is creating the content that brings that idea to life in a more authentic or a more organic way, such as in the story of Bunga, Ada and Sam. I mean, after all, who doesn't love a love triangle? Versus educating her with litany of claims, we tried to make it come to life, the consumer challenges, by combining the insight and the brand story to come through Bunga's own story. And third, which I would say is as important, is being present in the platforms where our millennial consumers are, orchestrating it as a digital-first campaign. So it's not just about creating the relevant content, but also being the right place to serve the content where they are.
Yeah, and you have decided to somehow execute or give life to Naturally Legit through a digital drama series. So why did the brand decide to go with a content approach? Because there's so many other approaches that you can look into. What is the strength of a digital drama series as opposed to any other approaches?
So I want to first start with, I think traditional marketing, indeed, and performance marketing will continue to be relevant methods to reach our consumers. It drives awareness, drives consideration. When we had done Naturally Legit campaign, the Bunga Secret Garden, we didn't suddenly drop the rest of our marketing orchestration, because I do believe that Each of these elements serve a unique role that is important to drive the full orchestration and the full campaign idea. And with this campaign, what it achieves content route that the others cannot. It drives the storytelling in a fresh, authentic approach that enables us to also drive consideration in a stronger way among our target audience, especially when we were talking earlier about our millennial consumers. Given they do set a higher bar for brands, right? We needed to educate and drive awareness on what makes the brand superior, so that will continue to be true. But as importantly, our consumers are looking for brands that they can associate themselves with, that brands that they can relate with also on a personal level. And that's what we try to achieve, to personalize and to humanize the entire consumer insight through Bunga's story. And I do think that this is what content route typically does better and how it can complement traditional marketing.
Yeah, but embarking on a long format content, I tell you, is so tricky. And the amount of discussions that we have to look into the storyline, because, it takes a lot of guts because there's always a fear that my brand could get lost in the storytelling and the brand messaging would somehow be diluted or become secondary in the drama. So was that the experience that you had with Herbal Essences Bunga Secret Garden?
Absolutely. And in fact, you would know this as we were working on the campaign together, right? We've had so many discussions as we were creating the story of Bunga and how to interject Herbal Essences messaging in a way that is unmissable, but at the same time, still perfectly attuned to the drama in the story, which, as anyone can expect, is always a very challenging act to balance. So I think 3 tips and things that had helped in this campaign that I would say. One is you and your agency partner, or who are the teams working with you on the campaign, need to be very clear and aligned on what the consumer insight is and what is that challenge that you're trying to address. What is the 1 to 2 communication priorities that you want to drive? As a brand team, we'll need to be able to provide this clarity. And the common myth is, in a long form, you can communicate 8 to 10 things more versus your 30s and your 15s, which is yes and no. Yes, you have more time. But if you want to create a story that is smooth and digestible and as entertaining, you need to be clear on what that biggest consumer insight is that you want to focus on. And second is we need to be very clear on what is the role of the brand in telling that story. Even at the initial stage, ask the question how it links back to the consumer barrier that we are trying to address. What's the role of the characters? What's the parallelism of the story that you're trying to drive? And ask the questions early, because sometimes we fall in love with stories so much, we buy the board, but the link on how it amplifies the brand story is not clear. Then we end up force-fitting at the end. People remember the story, but not the brand, which is also not where you want to be in, right? In this case, the challenge of our consumers is how to identify which brand is truly natural with so many things entering this space. And that's what we try to bring to life in Bunga Secret Garden, with Bunga having that dilemma of identifying which for two suitors is naturally legit.
And I just love the whole process. And to be frank, I had so much fun. I still remember when I was writing the script or the synopsis of it, I was like laughing and wow all the way. And all my colleagues around me was like, what's happening to you right now? Because I got so engaged with the storyline. And I think it works both ways. For creative mind like us, we need to somehow be open to listen to brand custodians like you are, because there's always going to be a balance between the story and also the brand messaging that we try to present within the story.
Absolutely,
right.
Shan. I think that just reminded me one last one, which is partner with your agency teams and create that environment of having a dialogue. Like what you said, right? We had so many discussions on how to bring Herbal Essences to life in the Bunga story. And I remember many times I would try to push for more overt ways to say the brand benefit, to which she would say, no, Jess, it just ruins the moment. Let's not do that. And I'm glad I listened. And again, it was the result of having that dialogue, right? If everyone is clear on the brand objective and the consumer barrier you're trying to address, maybe one of you can come up with better ways to make it come to life versus what I was suggesting. And I love that dynamic that we were able to achieve in this campaign.
Absolutely. And we have a surprise video for you.
Surprise video, okay.
There's always going to be a surprise with us. So we've actually got one of the judges to give us his opinion on the campaign and the presentation that you had done during APPIE. Yes, we have that. Are you ready right now to watch it? Well, you have no choice. All right, let's watch the video.
Herbal Essences Bunga's Secret Garden is an exemplary case because of clarity. First of all, I think the clarity of the problem that is identified, which is, the double-edged sword of authenticity and how it's being diluted by competitors as well as other factors in the market. But also the clarity in the strategy that they wanted to take, which is the idea of how can you demonstrate authenticity not only in its ingredients of the product, but also in the tonality that the brand takes via the content that it creates. So I think that's pretty powerful. The second thing I think that was really stand out about it is how connected the campaign was. What I mean by connected was that it left no stone unturned in the total user experience. So whether it's from a digital perspective or when you first get exposed to the message, or how engaged audiences actually manifest into buying customers. I think it was a highly connected campaign with clear, powerful goals and strategies that kind of made it an outstanding success.
Yay, that was Tai
Wow,
Kam
what
Yong,
a
head of brand and marketing consumer
delightful
success
surprise.
executive. Yeah, I can see that you're smiling. Also happened to be one of the judges for APPIE Malaysia 2021, and I totally agree with him on the importance of connecting all the dots of the campaign components and not letting any parts of the campaign to be working in silo. But it's easier said than done, right? So how did you connect the dots here?
I think, Shah, similar to what I mentioned earlier, it's truly being clear on what that consumer insight and that barrier is. And once you know what it is, then at every touch point, you'll be able to identify what role does this touch point play in order to address or bust that barrier, the consumer challenge that we had. So we always have our TV copy that will drive awareness and the benefit. And like what I mentioned, the Bunga Secret Garden was driving the relevance, the relatability, and the consideration to our millennial consumers. And of course, at the point of purchase, we bring about the same idea, the same naturally legit story to create that seamless consumer journey for her, that at every touch point she sees, it's a consistent herbal essences, and it's consistently trying to address the tension points that she is facing as a consumer.
Beautiful. And when we look into the sales growth, it's so impressive. Purchase consideration grew by 125%, but I believe the competition is just going to get tougher. So what's next that we could probably see from Herbal Essences to continue growing its business?
So that's always the beauty and the excitement of being in this industry, right? It's ever dynamic. A good campaign is never the end of it. And we continue to aspire to give our consumers the best of the brand, be it a superior product, superior packaging, communication, TV copy, point of sale offers and designs in stores. And we also grow and adapt to the changing landscape, because even our consumer insights and the challenges and the tensions that we need to bust over time evolves. And I do believe as long as we keep our consumers at the heart of what we do and we move with them, we adapt with their needs, this will allow Herbal Essences to continue being relevant and to continue growing.
All right. And the question that we have from our audience here, you have a lot of reasons, a lot of winning reasons here. But what is the single most important factor that led to Herbal Essences winning?
Tough question. So just choose one. I think the most important factor and is ultimately being able to articulate what were the results and the impact that your campaign had garnered and how these results link back to the objective and the brand challenge you identify at the start. And that being able to articulate and link it very clearly as you are presenting your case to the judges, especially for those who don't have the background of the brand, right? And who don't have the full context of what you were able to. Being able to explain that in a linear and a very clear way had helped us to successfully communicate how this campaign had impacted and resulted to great results for Herbal Essences.
Jessica, it was a pleasure talking to you and hope to have the privilege to work with the brand again in the future. Thank you so much. And stay
Super.
safe there.
Thank you so much.